Hi, welcome to our Geeks Book Club, everybody. I'm Felicia Day, and this is Bonnie Burton, my co-host.
Hello.
And we're talking our book for May. But first of all, how are you, Bonnie?
I'm good. I am sorry. Oh, let's see.
Why are you
I hope
sorry? What's going on?
I don't know. It just says you've been invited to speak. Accept. I thought I did accept. You can hear me, right?
Yeah. That's
Uh,
very well.
I
As the perfect Discord stages technology. Uh,
yeah. I don't usually. I'm not usually a popular guest. I shouldn't say that. I'm not
wait,
usually.
what?
I'm not usually asked to be on a lot of podcasts, but for some reason this month was just crazyville, and I double booked because I thought our show was going to be last week, not this week. So I
Oh
had
no!
that's okay. So I had agreed to do the podcast. I was it was a YouTube show called Movie Night Extravaganza with some of my friends that are musicians and actors and stuff. And our movie we were talking about was Under the Silver Lake with Andrew Garfield and a bunch of really great
Oh,
actors. Ricky's in
amazing.
it. Ricky Lindholm.
Lindholm. Yep,
Yeah, you know Ricky.
I know her. Yeah.
She's in it. But it's a really great movie. It's like a how can I put it? It's a love letter to LA and a wrapped in a David Lynch wrapper. So it's like a weird indie movie about secret codes and cults and weird stuff in LA. But it's also very fun and funny, and it also talks about hipsters and stuff. And I'm obsessed with this movie. So when I first moved to LA, I took the Under the Silver Lake walking tour. This movie came out in 2019.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I moved here in 2018. So I was like, oh, I want to know everything. And so I took the tour, and it's a weird movie. I think you can find it. I don't know where it's streaming now, but Andrew Garfield's the lead. I love them. And Topher Grace is in it. It's a good movie. But anyway, I agreed to be on this show. And then I realized, oh crap, our show, which takes priority, thank you very much, is right after. So I'm sorry if I was a minute or so late.
No, you
Uh,
weren't. You were
okay.
not late at all, but I
Okay.
I'm happy for you being double booked. That means the world is going back to normal-ish. People are
Sorta.
being overbooked. They're starting to stress out about
And
scheduling
they're
again,
still
and
not going anywhere. I mean, you were brave enough to go to conventions and stuff. I haven't even thought
dude,
about
I am probably so full of COVID right now, I can't even tell you. I was
You
just in
just came out,
Arizona.
right? Where did you
I
just go come from?
I was in Phoenix, Arizona. I went to Phoenix Fan Fusion, which I've only been to once before 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I'm about to go to Australia for this, and the same thing was I was only there 10 years ago, so I'm kind of excited, but at the same time, nobody wore masks, which is fine, that's just the law now,
Okay.
and, when I took
Did
pictures with
you
people, I
you
took
wore
my
none.
mask off. I don't
Okay.
know. Do I have COVID right now? Probably. I just at a certain point, you just are like, "I don't know
Everyone
what else to do."
I'm the only one who hasn't gotten it yet, but I never leave my apartment. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I think I only leave my apartment for doctor's visits. I need to go to the dentist because I chipped a tooth on some toffee over COVID, and I need to get that.
Coffee?
Toffee, not coffee, toffee. Toffee.
Oh. What
Like a
kind was
hard
it a worth a Werther's Original?
Yeah, like one of those. I was like, I got into old school so I got into old school candy during COVID, let's just put it that way. And like, ribbon candy, that grandma candy.
Yeah.
So, chipped a tooth. It's not full hillbilly, like I'm not like a Russ Meyer character, but it's
Mhm.
enough that it makes me heinous in LA. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like
I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
sure that it's in your mind, but I totally hear
No.
you.
Oh, no, no.
Oh,
I
okay.
When I moved to LA, I realized the tiniest imperfections sometimes are a lot well, maybe it is in my mind. But anyway, I don't leave in conclusion of this long TED Talk, I do not leave my apartment ever. I get food delivered. I get everything delivered. So, I have not gotten COVID, but, everyone at Star Wars Celebration has it now. I do know
Oh,
that
no.
yeah, because Anaheim was just COVID central. And then, unless you were wearing a Darth Vader mask or a Stormtrooper helmet, you have
I
it.
mean, that was probably really smart. I mean, the cosplay doubled as security.
Oh, when COVID first started and I didn't have a mask, I used to greet Postmates delivery guys wearing a Stormtrooper helmet. I mean, I didn't have a mask. It was
Oh,
good. It's fine. Whatever. But I
amazing.
I just know that we're back in convention season. I did get a ticket for San Diego Comic-Con. I still don't know if I'm gonna go. You're going,
I
right, or
oh, I'm
no?
not going to go.
How many
I'm
more
not gonna go.
conventions?
I've decided not to go. I just decided not to go because there's no reason for me to go unless something comes up
Yeah.
and I'll go.
How many more conventions do you have lined up this year?
5. So, but I'm going to really like I have Australia, which is gonna
Okay.
be super fun, and then I don't have anything until Dublin, and then
Okay.
I have Salt Lake City and Emerald City and New York City, I believe. And
Okay.
so it's not a very busy schedule. It's certainly nothing like I usually do. And they're
Yeah.
all places I cannot wait to go to and meet
Okay.
people at. And I know that there's going to be a ton of fans there and it's just going to be nice. So I am very excited about it. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I mean, who knows? I wish I could get another booster, but it's not really legal for me to get one. And I feel
Oh, you
guilty
can get
about just,
one. Will Wheaton got one this week. You can get one.
he's 50.
No, he's not. We're the same age. We both turned 50 this year. We are both 49.
Oh, okay. So maybe I just go get it. Would I,
Yeah.
is that moral?
Well, it's not like you're taking away a booster from someone else.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. I just me, I had half of a pot gummy and I felt like I was a criminal, okay? Like I am not I'm
Okay,
just
Shad just
very
someone named
risk
Shad just
averse.
said I look like I was 43, and I just wanna say thank you for that because I turned the big 50 this year, and I'm a little worried about
I mean, listen,
looking it.
look at Tom Cruise. He's so hot.
Yeah, that's some weird UFO genetics, though. That's like
Do
some
you think he's just
Scientology.
like they retouch every single second of it? Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like, I'm more of the Paul I would rather be more like Paul Rudd level of not aging, not Tom Cruise. Like, Tom Cruise, I don't think he's aged in the last 30 years, but he looks like when that started. You know what I mean? Whereas Paul
Mhm,
Rudd still
mhm.
looks exactly the same from Clueless.
Uh-huh.
Like, I
Okay.
don't know what kind of devil pact he did, but I approve. But also,
Okay.
there's nothing wrong with looking older. Like, if I could look like Helen Mirren right now, I would take it.
Yeah.
I would take that in a hot minute. In
I
fact,
mean,
I
it's
would go to
kind
a
of
plastic surgeon and just say, "Make me look like Helen Mirren." Just do that.
But, it should be okay to look older. Like, that's the problem because 99% of people don't have enough money or resources or know how to look that good, and then it sets this false expectation for people, especially it's like porn stars, like, you have these
Well,
young guys,
that's
and that's what
different.
that's what they measure beauty by, and that's not, like, real.
Well, porn stars have a different kind of upkeep they have to do, but I will
True, yeah.
say that's a whole other maintenance level that I would never be prepared. But
Nope.
Stranger Things new season just came out. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I will say there's been some really good interviews with Winona Ryder, and she does not believe in plastic surgery, and she hasn't had any done, and she likes getting
He
old.
looks
So,
incredible, though. Are you
I mean,
kidding?
that's a lot of not going into direct sunlight kind of
I
system.
that's what listen, it's all about your skin, y'all. If there's
Yeah.
one thing you can do to add longevity for the outside world to your life, skin, skin, skin.
Yep.
It's all your skin.
Yep. Yep. And also, have you watched the new Stranger Things?
Yes, Bonnie, I saw
Okay.
all the episodes before anybody because I'm with Netflix Geeked for Geek Week,
Oh, that's right.
and
That's what you did. That's what you did. I got screeners ahead of time because entertainment journalist. Let me tell you, I'm not going to give any spoilers because I don't want to spoil the people that are listening. But I will say I was disappointed in the music selection except for Kate Bush and Past the Dutchie on the left hand side. Those are the only spoilers I'm giving music
but
wise.
okay. I like the music, but I'm not a big, like, "Oh my gosh, I have to listen to the soundtrack" kinda thing. I did think that Kate Bush situation was incredible.
Wasn't that great? I love that. That's like now the new thing. Like everyone's into Kate Bush now, and I'm like, I'm for it. I'm totally for it. So
Listen,
anyway,
I loved it, and I found it to be super frightening. I could not watch it. I got to kinda binge
scary.
it before anybody else.
Yeah, but I will say if
And
you're a fan of
yeah.
'80s horror, there's a lot of '80s horror film, classic '80s horror film out
Yes, so many homages. Like, if you know '80s horror, you are gonna love it on a new level, on another level, and I
there.
don't even know that level, that's not my deal, but yeah.
Oh, it's my you know this about me, it's my deal. I love '80s horror films, so I was all
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it's that and that and that." So I was down, but I feel like I kinda have to turn in my geek card because I watched Stranger Things way before Obi-Wan, I
Oh,
liked it better, so I'm just gonna say that right now. But anyway,
okay,
how
okay.
are you doing? How's things with you, since you've been back from your convention?
I mean, I just got back. I'm
Yeah.
really tired. Suddenly, my whole June got filled up. So, I mean, I'm gonna be like 8, 9 days in Australia because I can't getting there and back fast enough. But that's and then my nanny is no longer working with me, so I don't have childcare on a regular basis, which is going to
Oh,
be a
do you want
tough
me to come over?
adjustment.
Do you want me to come
Oh,
over?
that's very sweet of you. Maybe I'll
I
take you
mean,
up
I
on
don't
it.
know if you want me near your child, but I will teach her some really creepy Russian nursery rhymes and some ciphers,
She
and
would love that.
we'll watch a lot of Three Stooges.
She would love it. I will tell you that. No, I mean, it's gonna be just a little unstable. She had her new school, she's gonna be going in the summer, and she has some summer
Okay.
camps that she's doing, and so it's just a lot of change. She's graduating preschool next week, which is a lot.
Wow.
I'm not yeah, it's just a lot going on, like a big transitions, and so I'm trying to be around her as much as I can, but
Mhm.
she's really going through a lot, and she's very emotional and clingy, and but also like you know, breaking down at the drop of a hat. So it's just I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
so
be there for her, and it's hard.
she's going through what I'm going through with premenopause, so we are both the same right now, so maybe we should hang out.
You're just like a 5-year-old. You need to come over.
I do.
Exactly.
I do. We could play hunt-a-killer games. I could teach her ciphers and murder mysteries.
I love it.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
same.
I would, and I actually been meaning to run like a RPG game with her because she loves storytelling. That's her
Oh, cool,
passion. She loves
cool.
it. It is
Well, I
kind of
will
out of
say that
control.
our hunt-a-killer Nancy Drew game is kid-friendly. There's no murder. It's just a missing person.
She loves that.
Yeah.
She's especially is into horror right now. She wants to know,
Oh,
"Mama, tell me a story about a haunted house downtown with lots of creepy rooms that had different haunting in each room. Go."
is she old enough for R.L. Stine stuff yet?
No, no, she's 5.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I went to go see The Exorcist when I was 7. I mean, I don't have any frame of
That's not
reference.
appropriate. That's not
This
appropriate.
is why I'm a really cool aunt and not a mom.
Yeah, but you're okay.
Okay,
Um,
I'm okay.
well, I'm excited, and also my birthday's this month, so I'm
Yay!
excited. This is gonna be I'm trying to figure out what to do for my birthday. I
You mean
have to be with
June?
my daughter. I can't just
June
be like, "I'm going away for a weekend because I already away too many times. So,
You're
what can I
saying
do with my
June
kid?
you're saying June's your birthday, right?
End of June. June 28th is my birthday, yeah.
Have you ever taken her to the Madonna Inn?
I have driven by there, and I like that idea. I was thinking about somewhere like Palm Springs.
Yeah.
I thought maybe we'd fly up to Eureka because she loves the redwoods, and there's kind of a quick Burbank flight that you could take now.
Yep, or you could take her to the giant dinosaur, thing, the Pee Wee Herman dinosaurs, or is that
Mhm.
not Calabasas, where is that? It starts with a C.
Uh, Pee-wee
Um,
oh, I know
someone
what
did
yeah, I think it is Calabasas, isn't it? I
is
don't
it
know.
It starts with a C, but
Hmm.
it's those giant, dinosaur things that you can climb up into, and they're really cool, and kids like dinosaurs. And they're
Yep.
not scary, they look like cartoon dinosaurs, they look like Fred Flintstone dinosaurs, they don't look like
Wow.
Jurassic Park level.
I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, I'll talk about it. It's fine. Honestly, I don't want anything. There's nothing
Yeah.
I want except getting stuff out of my house. I'm in a super sort of I
Oh,
don't want
really?
stuff in my house kind of
Do you have,
attitude.
anything I want? Do you have any taxidermy?
I don't need any taxidermy. Thank you so
Oh, do
much.
you have any? Are you getting rid of any? I'll take some off the table.
No,
Oh,
no, I don't have any. I actually don't like dead animals in my house.
I mean, I get it.
No
No judgment.
judgment. No
No judgment.
judgment. It's for you.
Yeah.
Um,
No judgment.
so let's dig into this book. You picked the book this month.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
do you
segue.
You wanna read the back of the book? Do you have the physical book? Do you want me to
Yeah,
read off
so
the Amazon?
it's called Convenience Store Woman, I'm gonna butcher this name because 'cause I'm horrible with Japanese names, Sayaka Murata. It's a
I
very
wrote down I wrote down all the characters' names on a piece of paper, and I forgot to bring it in here. So
yeah,
now
and I also wrote down all their greetings for, convenience stores, and I forgot to.
"Oshimase,
But I will say
oshimase."
I'm say but it's only 163 pages, so it's very quick. It's pretty big typography too if you got the physical book. But I will read the back. So, an inter oh wait. Yeah, okay. An international sensation that has sold more than 1,000,000 copies in Japan, named best book by okay, we don't care about that. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Convenience Store Woman is a charming and unforgettable story of a Tokyo sales clerk, Kiko oh god, Furukura, uh,
Furukura. Furukura.
Furakua, Kiko. I'm pronouncing her first name right. Kiko. or
I
Keiko?
think it might be Keiko because it's EI, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Keiko?
Okay, let's say Keiko is an unusual person, someone who has never fit in, but when she takes the job at a Smile Mart, aka convenience store, she finally finds peace and purpose in her daily tasks. But there's a huge pressure on her to pursue a career and to find a husband, and she feels forced to take desperate action in order to please people around her instead of herself. Is there room in this quote unquote normal world for someone as strange as Keiko? So,
Okay, and it is a very quick read, as you said. It's very I mean, I almost finished it in one night, and I just made myself read it in 2 nights.
yeah, I finished it in one day. I think 2
Mhm,
hours I did
mhm.
it. I'm usually a minute a page. I'm a pretty fast reader.
But there was
Uh,
a lot to think about in this, and I really enjoyed it. What why did you pick this book,
I
Bonnie, and what were your thoughts?
okay, so this might sound a little therapy 101, but I picked this book because I really identified with Keiko because I feel like I've never fit in anywhere. Um,
Mhm.
I am very extra. We've been friends for years, so you know me pretty well. You
Yeah.
know that I am very extra. I can be kind of, well, I am attention
I love
deficit.
it. I love the fact that you're describing yourself as extra. That's beautiful.
I mean, when the movers moved me from San Francisco to LA, they thought I was either moving a bookstore or a natural history museum, or I was a serial killer because I just had a lot of weird. I have two full human, not real human skeletons, but like medical grade skeletons, just for just for fun. But I also have like a lot of taxidermy. I like to call it whimsical taxidermy, so it's like
Mhm.
squirrels playing the violin, stuff like that. I
Gotcha.
have a Ouija board collection of over 100 Ouija boards. But then I also,
What? I did not know that about you. Where do you keep those?
oh, they're all over the place. Like I've got
Oh,
some on
wow.
my kitchen table, I've got some on my nightstands, got one in the bathroom on the wall with the planchette hanging. So if I want, here's the thing, by the way, I've done a Ouija board a zillion times with friends and by myself. Nothing's ever happened to me. So for those who are concerned, I have ghost repellent on me for some reason. Or I'm just so weird.
Is
No
that a
demons.
perfume?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of demons out there who are like, yeah, she's too much. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, I don't think I'll ever be possessed because demons are like, I don't know about her. Like, she's a
So you
lot.
think they'd be like, "Oh, pass?"
I feel like I would exhaust them. You know what I
I mean,
mean? It's like, does she ever shut up? Does she ever stop thinking? Does she ever like? It's just a lot.
I think
Uh,
a demon would get inside me and be like, "Oh, this is too much. This
oh
is
no,
too much
they would get
anxiety
inside
right here."
you and be. I feel like they would get inside you to be productive. They would get inside me to find like it's like, oh, I'm like the peyote of humans. So they're like, oh, I wanna try that drug, but not be on it all the time. That's what
Yeah.
I feel like I am, whereas
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
I
you're like a side hustle for a demon, not a
yeah, where I
full-time
feel
job.
like you would be more their range because you have cool stuff, you have cool things going on, you have cool friends, you're very, like you're a cool person, where I'm more like,
I don't
"Oh,
think
I
I'm
wanna."
cool. Bonnie, I think you don't know me. There is nothing cool about me, and
Whereas
friends? Not many.
uh, well, I don't know, if I was a demon and I had my choice between you and me, I'd pick you. So I
Really sweet. Thank you so much.
Like, this is what this book was about for me. When I first read this, so I first read this book on a recommendation from one of my friends who was like, "Oh my god, this girl, she reminded me of you a little bit because I think it was because I was going through a lot, just because I felt okay, so I'm from the Midwest and there's a lot of pressure to be normal there.
Mhm.
And because I'm in LA and before that San Francisco, I've always picked cities where normal is if you're freaky, that's okay. And no, that's not going to shock anyone. But in
Yeah.
the Midwest, if you're freaky, they follow you in the store because they think you're going to steal stuff. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah.
I have never been married. I've never even been engaged, never even been proposed. Longest relationship I had was probably like 2 years, and I would say probably it was probably a year, but and mentally I thought it was 2 years. You know, when they check out and don't tell you they're gone, and you're
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, they're just busy." Yeah, that's I've never had
That's called
kids.
ghosting, right?
Yeah,
That's a ghost, right?
I'm a professional been ghosted person. Like, I've never ghosted someone, but I've been ghosted so many times.
Mhm.
Again, ghost repellent. I am ghost repellent. So, I've never really lived with anyone very long,
Uh-huh.
and, I've never had kids. I've never really wanted kids. It's not that I don't like kids. It's just I don't know if I would turn into like a Pippi Longstocking kind of mom or like a Joan Crawford kind of mom because
Mhm.
and also mental illness runs in our family as well as bad teeth. So I just didn't want to have to like produce a child that had bad teeth and mental like stuff they had to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was just like I know how extra I am to bring another mini me into the world. I would feel for them.
Yeah.
But also I feel like I need a partner in doing that. I'm not saying you have to have a partner to raise a child, but I would assume it's helpful.
I think
So
it's pretty tough. I mean, any after becoming a mom, I mean, I had sympathy for single parents before, but
yeah.
single parents,
Oh,
you have my heart. You really do.
me too, me too. Yeah. So anyway, this girl in this book, she's 36 and she's been working at a convenience store since she was, I believe, 18.
18 years, yeah.
Yeah. So the longest job I had was at Lucasfilm for 10 years. So I kind of
Mhm.
understood that. And that was my life. Like I didn't have a life outside of Lucasfilm. Everything was I did 12-hour days. I even sometimes spent the night in my office if I was on a deadline. Like I that was my life. So I
Yeah.
understood. And also when you have a job that becomes your life, and it's not healthy, but if it becomes your life in a way where it's stabilizing and you
Mhm.
know what you are supposed to do every day and you're good at it, it's hard to walk away from that, but it's also hard to explain it to people who don't understand that lifestyle of the job is your life, but it's also gives you a routine which makes you feel safe, makes you
Mhm.
feel you have purpose. Like there's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I identified with her on that level because this job did give her purpose, but also she has I feel like she's slightly on the spectrum, and the only reason I bring that up is I have friends who are high functioning autistic, and then sometimes they don't even say autistic anymore, they just say spectrumy because of Asperger's and all that. And it's I had a friend who she would mimic the way people talked so she would fit in. And I think a lot of us have done that on some level
I think
as
it's called
kids.
masking or mimicking, or there is a terminology
Well,
for it. Because I
there is
actually was looking this up. I really enjoyed the book, but the first thing that hit me I think you're touching on a couple of really like, I think this book resonates because it is a story about especially a woman and basically being shunned for not fitting in,
yeah,
but at the
and it's
same time,
Japanese
the
culture too. Japanese culture is very
yeah,
different than ours.
Japanese culture seems to be a lot more, stratified and also chauvinist,
Yeah, I would say
and
it's very gender specific for
gender specific, gender limiting.
yes.
Probably they're not, and they certainly in my investigations very briefly about how they treat neurodivergence, it's not really something they confront. And for sure, rather than the I'm an outsider woman not trying to fit into the world, I was like, this character is clearly neurodivergent. And
Oh yeah.
mainly it was kind of the lack of empathy, like, trying to get into, understanding, like, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, she's like a psychopath," like, that didn't seem like to me, she
Didn't
was
think
really
that.
just not understanding people's,
Yeah,
uh,
she was
point of view.
an outsider looking in, and that's I've always
Yes,
felt that way. So I've always felt that
of
way, and
course, me too.
I have broken up fights when I was a kid by hurting the okay, so I just remember there's a scene in this book where she talks about when she's a kid, and there's these two little boys fighting, and she's a little kid too. And the other little kids are like, make them stop, make them stop. And instead of just like getting in between them and putting her, hands out to separate them, her idea to make them stop is just really injure one of them with a
Yeah.
spade. Which I never did that, but I did. You remember those cardboard fake bricks that they
Yeah.
have in kindergarten? I did really whack some kid with one of those once
Oh, wow, okay.
to stop a fight because he was
Mhm,
bullying.
mhm.
I've always hated bullies. So I will put myself in harm's way to stop a bully always. And I found out the hard way that's not really the best way to do things. To physically make yourself a barrier between a bully and a kid that's getting beat up. But I used
Mhm.
to do that all the time when I was a kid, and I would grab like whatever I could find and hit the bully over the head, and then I'd
Yeah.
get in trouble. But then again, it was the 70s, early 80s, so it wasn't again, it's like Stranger Things. It's like, it wasn't as bad as it is now where you could get sued or you could have the whole school get sued or something. Back then it was and it
Mhm.
was the Midwest where there's, kind of like survival of the fittest, Lord of the Flies situation. But
Mhm.
I identified with her in this book because not as much as like I do remember mimicking the way the popular girls spoke in my school when I was in junior high because I wanted to just belong and be accepted.
Of course, yeah.
Before I discovered the punk rock scene and skater boys and metalheads, when I realized, oh, you find your own group eventually. I kept trying to force my way into the group that really didn't want me there. So, like, I
Yeah.
went to, like, Barbizon modeling school to look like them. I took allocution classes to talk like them, and it just didn't work. And so when I was reading this book, I'm like, "Oh, I get it. I get it." I
Yeah.
mean, it's more extreme in her character, but I get where she's coming from. So
Well,
that's
she
why.
was kind of, like, looking at a way to make her safe in the world,
Yeah.
and so, because she felt so different and yet didn't quite understand why people called her weird, I think that was kind of the thing I associated with because as a
Mm.
kid, I automatically just were like, I don't know why you're popular, kids. I'm doing my own thing, and like, for some reason, I had that sense of confidence in
Mhm.
completely from day 1 rebelling against the popular girls, especially other girls. And so I empathized with her sort of really not understanding why she wasn't being accepted. Why is it so hard for people to accept that I'm strange and single when they would rather me be and happy, and they'd rather me be unhappy and married. And
Yeah.
I really sympathize with that because just like she can't see anybody else from outside of her point of view, nobody can see her outside of their point of view. And so
Yeah.
it's really not so it's not her neurodivergence making her different from everybody else. It's just people not seeing the world the same. So, cuz for me, like, yes, other people's expectations and standards are just I literally don't understand it.
Mhm.
Maybe, I don't know if
I
I'm
mean,
sure I'm some kind of neurodivergent. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm sure I'm definitely think differently from other people, and that's okay. I love
I
it.
think
I
it's
love
okay, and I think that that's what drew me to you as a friend, because I knew we would bond over a lot of different things. How it's just my brother is the exact opposite of me. My brother was super popular. It's kind of like what was that Drew Barrymore movie where she goes back to school? Never Been Kissed, right?
Oh, yeah, that was a good movie.
Right, and she's
Oh,
trying so
yeah.
hard to, like, belong, and she ends up being friends with the nerdy kids, but then eventually but her brother, played by the amazing David Arquette, is the kinda guy that everybody loves and everyone, like, he goes the fact that he goes back doesn't he go back to school, or does he play the coach or I don't know. But he's, like, super popular. That's what my brother was. My brother's good at all sports, he's super popular, he's a good-looking guy. I look like Wednesday Addams without trying, and I was trying so to be, Alicia Silverstone. Like, I was trying to be, like, the popular kid, but I was clearly not, and then once I became goth, I fully embraced it, and that's when I found my friends. That's when I found
Yeah.
the people that accepted me for who I was, and that was, like, the freaks and geeks. So I was basically with the freaks and geeks, but I loved it because then I was finally around people who got me. But my own family does not get me. Like, when I go back for the holidays, I'm the
Mhm.
exotic bird that's coming from California back to the Midwest, and I come from a family of cowboys and a family of athletes and normal people with normal jobs, like work for Edward Jones or they're dentists or they're teachers. I am the only one in the entertainment industry. I'm the only one who's a writer. I'm the only one who's never been married. I'm the only one without kids. I'm the only
Yeah,
one.
so being an act I think a lot of people with also geek backgrounds, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have civilians in their lives who don't understand their passions, and unfortunately, the majority of people are not thinking like, in a geeky way, like, they're definitely look at your passions in a
Oh yeah.
like, askance, and so, I actually had to give a speech this morning, it was like a corporate job, and I was
Ooh.
so nervous about it, and I really am proud of myself for just doing
Wait, was
it,
it
and
like a TED Talk? What was it?
it was just a talk it was a talk on, embracing your uniqueness, which is kind of a lot of the themes of my book, Embrace Your Weird,
Which was
because
amazing.
your voice is unique and your
Yep.
creativity is unique, so yeah, and it was interesting because I think in a way it is really hard to be different. And when you're a little kid, being different is okay. And then kids kind of solidify their idea of the world, which generally conforms to gender stereotypes and sort of mainstream values and things like that. And so they get kind of vicious when they finally have a worldview and it's set. They don't want anybody to kind of sway from that. And that kind of goes throughout people's lives. And so it's really hard, no matter how old you are, to be different than other people. And I really think that theme of this book is really, really powerful. I just think as a character, we're definitely seeing through the eyes of a character who is genuinely not able to she's not able to process anything in a more quote unquote mainstream way in a way. And so she is neurodivergent, but you know, I looked up the author and she still works in a convenience store. This is
Oh, no, isn't that great?
autobiographical.
Okay, let's back up because I do need to bring this up, and I should have brought this up at the beginning, when we were first talking about this. I know you've been to Tokyo, yeah?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god, okay. So
I know.
I've been to Tokyo a few times. I'm not saying that as I'm cool or anything. I'm just saying it's one of my favorite places to visit, and here's why. Their convenience stores are not like ours. They are not like 7-Elevens here. The 7-Elevens, and they do have 7-Elevens there. Their convenience stores are so clean, so beautiful, so well
Mhm.
kept, but they also have the most delicious sandwiches, delicious rice balls, delicious food, delicious sushi that's freshly made, like on the hour. Like, and they are so about hospitality there. So when you go visit, even the tiniest little hole in the wall bar or restaurant, they will bend over backwards to make sure you're happy. And I mean, if once you go to a Japanese hotel, all hotels are ruined for you
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's
I
just
it's my
like,
dream
oh,
to go.
it's like you won't want to come home because when I came home and I was just like, ugh, we're in. And this is not an anti-American rant because I am American. I'm happy to be American, but if you spend any time, any long time in Tokyo, or a city in Japan, and you come back here, you're going to think, oh my god, everything's filthy, everything's dirty, everyone hates their job, no one has pride of place, no one cares about how well they're dressed. Like, there, it's not about being rich, it's just about pride in oneself, in one's job, in one's demeanor. And I will say they do take it to another level that I don't know if I could withstand that pressure of
Mhm.
being like, you have to have a certain tone of voice, you have to have with customers, and they bow constantly. Before I went to Japan, I had to take a class because I was working at Lucasfilm at the time, and I was going over there for they had Star Wars Celebration here in Anaheim last weekend, but we had our first one in Tokyo, I think in 2005 or something. And we had to take an orientation class on how to accept a business card. So when someone gives you a business card when someone gives you a business card
Wow.
at Comic-Con, right? You grab it, you put it in your back pocket, you say thanks, maybe you give them your business card. In Japan, you are supposed to take it with both your hands, stare at it like it's a piece of gold, and really look at it, and then you have to have a special holder for business cards. If you put it in your back pocket, that's like a huge insult. And you have to be ready to give them yours in the same way. It takes forever. But it's like that's just courtesy and manners and hospitality are huge in Japan. And they're just not here, it's not that way. So when you read this book and you read that she's a convenience store clerk or person that works at a convenience store, just know that these convenience stores are all very immaculate already, but they take pride in their food and they have seasonal food and seasonal things.
I mean, I
And
wanna go there right now, Bonnie.
oh
Stop.
my god, and the
Come on,
yakitori.
man.
She's talking about the yakitori. I think the story when she talks about when she's a little girl and she finds a dead bird and she gives it to her mom and her mom's like, "Oh,
Yes.
a little gravestone for it." And she's like,
Let's
"Oh,
cook
eat it."
it.
Because yakitori is like it's kind of like it's
I
like
mean,
fried
what's wrong with
chicken.
that? That one I was like, "Oh, that's pretty funny."
I
But
did love that
also
she's like, "Why don't we just kill all the other birds and bring them home for dinner?" Like, I actually thought that was kinda cute. I didn't think it was a sociopathic thing. I think she just thought, "Dad likes chicken, dad likes birds. I just wanna do something nice for my dad." Like, I didn't see it as like a,
I
you
didn't
know.
think that was I mean, he
And here
I think all of it was not like for me, I just wanna say one thing because it occurred to me while you were talking.
mm,
I feel like this woman does in only in certain areas, and it's like whenever I go to a Hollywood function, whenever
Mm.
I've been on a red carpet, that's how I feel. I feel like Keiko in real life.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always trying to imitate to the way that other people stand, the
Yep.
way that other people have done their hair. Like, there's nothing organic to doing that that is truthful to who I am as a person. And so whenever I'm in those situations, I feel like a fraud. I feel like I'm gonna be found out. It's not like just a boogers in my nose. I just feel like someone's gonna point to me and say, "Look at her. She doesn't really know how to dress. She doesn't know how to make herself pretty. And why is she here?" That is what I fe so this is why this book really resonated with me because
Yeah.
like, and in my day-to-day life, I'm really happy and I feel super comfortable in my skin. But when I'm in a Hollywood situation, I don't know how to socialize, I don't know how to schmooze, I don't know how to, you know, get network. It's just not anything I want to do, and I don't feel like even when I'm imitating other people, I don't feel I'm successful at it.
Totally understand what you're saying, and I think imposter syndrome for creatives is such a huge thing that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially in public, events. When I was an entertainment reporter and I had to do red carpet reporting, I felt like, "Oh my god, I'm in between Entertainment Weekly and Wall Street Journal, and I work for, like, I work for CBS or some smaller thing," but I always felt like an imposter just being there. What I loathed anytime I had to walk a red carpet for anything
Oh, it's the
because
worst.
I'm not anyone famous. I'm a writer. Like, I feel like there's this great moment in Castle when Nathan Fillion's character had a bulletproof vest and it just said writer across it. I wish that I could get an outfit to wear those events that just say writer across it because no one cares about the writer. No one cares about the writer. You exist purely to make stars out of people, right? So as a writer, I wish I could just have like a black dress or like black slacks and a really nice top and just have it like an all white cap say writer or I'm the writer. So they know
Mhm.
why I'm on the red carpet, but they don't hassle me like they would like a star or a director. So I understand what you're saying about that stuff, but I feel for you because I know you well and I know you also straddle between geek and famous actress. And
I mean,
that's
I
2
don't. I don't actually. I mean, I think that people on the geek side think I'm a successful actor, and nobody in Hollywood ever thought me as successful. But that's okay.
well, Hollywood's fickle, so it just kind of depends if you
Exactly. So
know
it's
who it is.
fine. I just don't even wanna do it ever again. Like, I mean, I totally sympathize with Keiko, although
Should we talk
the
about the incel
crappy
boyfriend?
we should talk about the way that she took this horrible guy in,
Oh,
Sharaha?
okay,
Shiraha?
well, here's the thing,
Okay.
I've been that girl. I did date a few people who were horrible, just so my parents and friends would know I was dating someone, because I mean, you're similar in the way that you keep your private life very private. I It's very rare anyone knows who I've dated unless I blurted out drunkenly that I've dated, like, half of Nine Inch Nails, but not Trent, like that kind of thing.
Wow,
Because
okay.
I did go through bands. I will say during the 90s, I'm not apologizing for it because that's just who I was and I'm fine with it. But I dated a lot of people in bands for a long time. And
Yeah.
then I went to the reality star actor route. Then I went to actual actors. And I always kept it secret because I didn't want people to make a thing of it. Um,
Mhm.
but also I gravitate towards broken people too, so it's like a whole thing where I try to fix. So I understood what she was doing. She was dating, what was his name again?
Oh,
Susudio?
Shikahara? No, sorry.
Okay.
Shiraha.
Uriah. He is 100% an incel. Like
He's the worst.
he would talk
And,
about
like
women in the worst way possible. He kept bringing up the Stone Age, which I don't think he knew.
but he also feels neurodivergent as well. Like, these are 2
Well,
neurodivergent people, or is
he
he just scum?
Yeah, he felt like he didn't belong anywhere, but I feel like that was his own fault. Whereas with her, I feel like she
She
tried
saw
to.
the world in a different way, he just refused to function in the world.
He
You're
wasn't
right,
the
there
fuck.
is
He was just a dick. Like he was just one of those guys, and I've dated guys like this, where they're mad at the world for not giving them. They feel entitled. They're mad at
Mhm.
the world because they don't want to have to work for a living. They just want to be rich off of one great idea they've got, which is probably not a great idea, but they want you to
It
invest
was
in
very
it.
entitled. He felt like a Reddit person. He really did.
It felt like a lot of the band members I've dated where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna be the next Nine Inch Nails," which they're not. Like, I'm talking about the other people I dated, where they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna be the next Cure, or the next Fall Out Boy," or whatever, and they're not because they wouldn't put the work into it, but they just thought they were talented enough that all the success should fall in their laps, and I'm like, "That's not what it's like to be an entertainer." If you've
Yeah.
read any biography of any entertainer that's been super popular, whether it's Marilyn Monroe or Elvis or what, I don't know, whatever, Frida Kahlo, their worlds were a fucking mess and they worked really hard to get where they were. It didn't just fall into their laps. And this guy reminded me so many of my exes who were just mad at the world that they weren't famous and rich. They refused to get real jobs, so you're paying for everything. It used
Yep.
to be
You got this pegged, man. You know
oh,
this. You
let me
know it.
tell you, I was for a long time I was single because I said I wanted to save my money for my next boyfriend because I have paid for so many bands, so many tours, so many albums, so many posters, so many promotion materials.
Oh, no.
I feel like I should get some sort of redeeming check like when I'm 65 it should be like social security for dating failed musicians. I feel like you should get your money back for all the money. Like it used to be a joke, like what's a drummer without a girlfriend? Homeless? That's not far from the truth, like at least with me. So when I read this book originally, when I first read it, because I've read it a few times, when I first read it, I'm like, oh shit, I've dated that guy. And I've
Oh,
actually
no.
let guys like that live with me because it was just easier than having to deal with the drama of them trying to get a job to get an apartment or they would be homeless.
The minute she had this guy enter her life, people started treating her like a friend. They
Yeah.
started treating her like somebody who was part of their world versus outside it. So no matter what she did before to try to fit in, she was not accepted and she knew it. And
Yeah.
so her family, her friends, her coworkers, and they started treating her in a completely different way just because a guy was in her life. And
Oh, yeah.
it's interesting that the author not only has worked 18 years at a convenience store, but also has never had sex.
Yep.
I don't know if she has said she's asexual, but she has never had a boyfriend or gotten married or had sex. So
Right.
she, and what's wrong with that? But the fact that people can't possibly empathize or let just somebody be. That is the
Well,
basic thing of this world right
yeah.
now. Why
And
can't you just let people be?
there's a famous quote from Freud, not that we should care what he had to say about anything, but the famous quote from Freud is the only abnormal sex is no sex. And I don't believe that. I have
What?
friends yeah. I have friends
Whatever.
that I have friends that are asexual. I am, I guess, asexual. In a way, I just call myself lazy sexual because it's not like I'm turned off by sex or not crave it. It's just I don't care anymore. So I'm like, so I'm kind of like I don't, like I have friends who are like, I can't believe you haven't. I'll just be candid. I haven't had any kind of romantic anything or sexual anything in probably 9 years, 8 years. Yeah, that's
But it's
about right.
not like you're different. I mean, it's really doesn't matter. Like,
Well,
who cares?
I just don't care. And all I know too is the people I date tend to be either narcissists or sociopaths, or in some cases psychopaths. So I just know that I have when I have blinders on when I fall for people. So I try not to do that anymore. But also I'm at an age too where I care more about just hanging out with my friends than going on dates. Like I've got friends that keep trying to set me up with people or get me to use
Oh, it sounds exhausting.
Tinder, and then because I'm bisexual, I mean, technically pansexual, everyone's like, "Oh, I've got the perfect non-binary girl for you," or "I've got the perfect," which is dumb because non-binary is genderless, but you know what I mean. So it's not genderless, but not gender specific. But anyway, I don't like I don't care. It's just I'm attracted to people personality wise, not gender, but like that's elusive to a lot of like none of
But
my
but 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 I
friends.
look at other people like that because they want other people. They like weren't you lonely during COVID? Not
No.
1 second.
Not 1
Not
second. And the
1
thing
second.
is, I'm an introvert inside of a pretend extrovert, so when you talk to me, like, anyone listening to this right now who doesn't really know me probably is like, "Oh, Bonnie's an extrovert because she's very talkative, she's very obnoxiously loud, she's got a lot of stories, she's done interesting things." No, I prefer to be by myself, and I don't get lonely. I was a solitary kid, even though I grew up with a brother. I kept to myself, and I didn't have any friends
There's so
growing
much
up.
to do in this world. There's so much to and there's so
Yeah,
much you could do
but I'm
with
not to get
the
home
couple
feeling.
of people who are important with you. You don't need
Right.
more.
I don't need to date an incel to fit in, and
I
but
don't need
here's the
more.
thing, like, I do feel like she in this story, she felt like more like it was an experiment for her. I didn't really see it as like, I was just again, I would have been this guy would have tap danced on my last nerve too many times. Like, I
No, no,
probably
but she wasn't even looking at I mean, she didn't care about him. He could not
didn't care
exist.
either
It was
way.
just almost
Yeah,
like,
he's like a pet
it
salamander. He's like a pet salamander to her. Like, I he insulted her so
mhm.
many different ways in this book, and I would have, like, turned homicidal if a guy talked to me like that. And she just was like, "Oh, really? That's what you think of me?" Like, she never really got super mad. She just sort of, like, was like, "Oh, he exists." Like, it was just weird.
No,
It was just
she never got very emotional in any way. She did feel disappointed in the world, but it was almost as if it confirmed her ideas of them, and she was very analytical, and she
yeah,
didn't
like,
feel like she wasn't crying at any point. She wasn't
no, that's the thing. She was very, kind of just, one way, like, one way the whole way. So,
Yeah, I mean, she
I
did feel
really
agitated when her colleagues started being invasive and, like, making a big deal
when
out
they
of the
were
relationship.
invasive, also when that guy wasn't doing it well, when the guy she ends up, inviting her to her home, he's a crappy worker, and I thought that was interesting that she, basically valued people on their ability to be good convenience store workers, which is kind of interesting when you think about it, but I also was like, if this was me in this book, this would have ended like, it would have been like a Rose for Emily Faulkner kind of ending. Like I would have killed him and then just
Mhm.
left his dead body in the apartment near a window. So then people would be like, oh, she got married. But it's like he's dead. Like that would have been my happy ending for her was that she just murders him, but he's still in the apartment. The skeleton is, and so people leave her alone because they think she got married. Happy ending. Like that's not what happened in this book, but she did get a happy ending in the book. Like she
She
got rid
did because, spoiler alert, she pretends to be with this guy, they're gonna get married, they're gonna be do this marriage of convenience almost,
yeah.
because it does make her more functional just like the scaffolding of the manual that tells her how to behave in the convenience store gives her, a way to function better in the world because it will not let her function in the way she is organically, but she goes back into the convenience store after she's quit, and basically it's like, "No, this is where my heart is." And I love the fact that she's the most emotional thing in the book for this woman is the way the store talks to her, anticipating where the new products need to go and the fact that they're low on something and the fact that something's on the lower shelf and it needs to be on the upper shelf. So she understood human instinct with the store. She
Yeah.
just didn't understand human emotion, and she doesn't seem to understand emotion at all.
This was a love story, but between a woman and a store.
Yeah, for sure.
That's and I don't know if you've ever worked in a store where you are constantly kind of like putting things on shelves and making sure they look right, but also you're doing cashier, but also you're cleaning. I worked at a comic
I
book
have
store.
never done that, but I do clean my kids' I clean her playroom obsessively, and all of her Legos are arranged by size. So, yes, I understand the satisfaction.
I have the satisfaction of color coding a zillion books in my apartment. So,
I mean,
like,
it's gorgeous. Bonnie, you have the best library I've ever
can
seen.
I tell you right now, I totally influenced Will to do that too. So now Will's game room is color coded. I
His
feel like
game room is so beautiful.
it's beautiful that way. Like, I'm so glad I mean, I'm not saying you have to do it this way. I'm just saying for me aesthetically, visually, because I have so much stuff. I like to call it organized chaos. It's not hoarderism,
No,
but
no, no,
it's
it isn't. It's I mean, you're not, like, sitting there and having to go around piles of crap that's not organized, that you don't know what's
tell
going
you
on.
tell you something? Spending a Saturday night or a Friday night restyling my bookcases or reorganizing my books and comics brings such gratification and joy and calmness, almost like a moment of zen. It's like meditation in a way.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. Cleaning
so
your
when
house, there's nothing better than, cleaning out
exactly.
a closet.
Oh my
It's
god, I
just
love that. I love doing that, and it's not a lot of people can relate to that. I think you and I can relate to that on, the same level, but when I
mhm.
read this book, I was like, "I get it. I get it." Like, I would tell especially in a Japanese convenience store, I mean, I'm
Oh,
not talking
forget it.
Oh my god, like, it's beautiful, and also, it's like when I worked at a record store, when I worked at Wax Trax Records, we treated that record store like church, so everything was clean, but also everything has its own thing, and, like, when you go into a bookstore or a comic book store or a record store, if they still have record stores, I don't even know anymore, they would have, like, the picks of the employee picks, like, their
Mhm.
favorite books or their favorite records or their favorite comics. That is such an honor, but it's so much fun, and you just feel like you're connecting with people, and the store is like a reflection of your personality, and you feel it's so hard to explain, but, like, all my favorite jobs were retail jobs of things I enjoyed, not clothes and stuff, but, like, because I will say there was a gap year. I mean, not a year where I traveled, like, a year where I worked at Gap, where I think that was a Dante's circle of hell for me. Um 'Cause you have to learn how to fold the Gap way, and also those girls could be bitchy. But I will say, working at a comic book store and a record store, first of all, I barely made any money because I would just spend my paycheck on things from the store. But I loved those jobs because it's just you know what you're supposed to do. It's very structured. You learn to talk to people. It feels like a daily improv class most of the time. You learn so much about music and books and comics, but it's also like your life. And so
Mhm.
reading this book, I was like, I totally get it. And especially as someone who doesn't connect with people instantly, I understand why she connected to the store because it was like a routine that she was proud of. And also she was good at it.
Yeah.
So, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's a really fun book. It's really an interesting just slice of life of a really
Yeah.
fascinating character, and it does, you know, does highlight how, um, other people, especially women who are not of the getting married, having kids, doing typical lady stuff kinda thing are sort of ostracized and
Mhm.
kinda gossiped about because her awareness of being gossiped about because she was different really struck a chord with me for some
Yeah.
reason as well. Um,
My goal always was to be like Auntie Mame. So, like, I always
oh, yeah,
wanted to, like,
Porky
really
Aunt.
yeah, like, I wanna be the cool aunt. Like, I wish I had Auntie Mame money, that would be great, but I don't, but that's okay. Like, I'm turning 50 this year, and I had this talk with my dad because my dad's very traditional, but also he just wants me to be happy. Like, he's a good dad in the sense of he knows I'm the freak of the family. I've always been the freak of the family, and he's tried to get me to, join cheerleading and be in 4-H and do all this stuff that normal kids do and be on the softball team. But I just never clicked with any of that. I did click with 4-H because there was crafts. But,
Mhm.
as you know, because I love doing crafts, but I just never clicked the way my brother did. My brother instantly was good at everything and everyone loved him. For me, it was always a struggle to do anything. And now that I'm like getting closer to, 50 this year, my dad was like, look, it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're happy doing it. And
Exactly.
we don't care if you get married and give us grandkids and all this stuff. He's like, we just want to make sure that you're in a relationship for the right reasons, but also the person respects and loves you. And you're not in it to feel like you're fulfilling some sort of checklist that you have to do by the time you're 50. Because I still rent, I don't own a home. And my brother's on like his third house. Like I'm not my brother. And also, what is it? The comparison is a joy killer, right? You can't compare your life to
No,
everybody else.
because listen, I totally get it, like, I just my kid's old preschool had, like, a charity auction, and there's people donating their 2nd and 3rd houses, and they're connected to this company and got this free hotel, and I was like, I feel so like, "Wow, I feel like I do okay," but when you're with all these super, super rich people who have private jets and all these houses and connections to all these huge companies, you feel like but relatively, if I just was in a different environment, I'd feel a lot more confident. I feel like the key to everything is feeling satisfied, and you
Yeah.
have to surround yourself with a world and lifestyle that makes you feel satisfied because honestly, doesn't matter how much money I'm sure some of those super rich people are feeling super poor compared to others even super richer people.
Oh,
So nobody's ever happy when
oh,
they care about those externals.
rich people have their own set of problems too. Like a lot of rich people have family problems and
Well,
issues.
exactly, and they're all, like, messed up because they go to school and they don't have, not these
Yeah,
people, but,
like
they don't
I
see
grew
their
up.
kids, all that stuff.
I mean, I grew up dirt poor, but we never felt poor because my parents were good at, like, just making sure that things were important to us.
Mhm.
Like, we didn't have a ton of toys, but the toys we had, we loved, is that kind of thing. Like, I mean, my dad whittled out of a log an AT-AT from Star Wars because we couldn't afford to buy big Star Wars toys. And I wish I
Mhm.
still had that. I think we gave that to a cousin or something. But it's like my dad made a dollhouse for me, like a wooden, really nice dollhouse that has lasted generations. Like I didn't have Barbies and stuff. But the thing is,
No.
like, I am not even dealing with, like, rich people drama, I'm dealing with suburban drama. So for me,
Is
it's
yeah,
like,
suburban. Well, that's more what this book is about too.
yeah, it's like I just don't have the husband or job that people can identify with or kids, and I'm not super religious. And those are all and I'm not into sports. And those are things that
Yeah.
that my family bond over, and I totally get it. But I always feel like when I come home from the holidays, I'm like an independent movie for them. Like I'm a breath of fresh air because they're all doing the same things. They're all going to the same sporting events and Christian events and Republican events and all that stuff. And then I come along and I'm like, "Hey, let's go axe throwing."
Yeah.
Which actually sounds more like something they would suggest to me, but like, or I'll say, "Hey, let's play one of my Hunt a Killer games." Like I brought a Hunt a Killer. None of them had ever played an RPG ever. Nothing. And I bring a Hunt a Killer game and suddenly they're all into RPGs. Like it's just I feel like if you take pride in yourself and you're cool with your own self, you don't need to compare yourself to what is quote unquote normal. And I think this book is a good reflection of what is normal, but also maybe don't change yourself to please everybody else. It's okay to fall in love with your job at 7-Eleven.
Mhm.
If that's what makes you happy, do it. Who cares
What
what
makes you happy outside of other people coming in? Because sometimes you could be super happy, and then people come in and like, "Oh, you like that?"
every time,
Or I
all the
mean,
time.
to me, I have to quit Instagram. I have uninstalled
No.
well, not quit it, but I have to stop just browsing it because
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
outside of some people I would love, it makes me so unhappy with who I am and where I am,
Oh,
and it makes me
no.
long to be no, but this I just noticed psychologically. I uninstalled Twitter off my phone. I feel sometimes I miss it because I do like the writing of it. And I've been using Instagram more, and I notice a noticeable dip in my self-confidence, in my
Mm.
happiness with where I am, and I'm like, "Oh, this is what all the scientists and psychologists say
Oh, yeah.
about this platform," because the pictures of other people living more glamorous lives or looking
Yeah,
better
it's
or places that I
YOLO.
can't go to, it's just
It's per
not
or not
good.
YOLO. It's permanent FOMO with filters, right? So, like,
Exactly.
it's so funny. One of my close friends said something to me a long time ago that broke my heart. She said that she thought my Instagram was disingenuous and fake. And the reason she thought it was fake was because I didn't take a lot of selfies. And for me, I think Instagrams with nothing but selfies are fake. So it's just everyone has a different point of view of what how they want to represent themselves on social media. For
Mhm.
me, all my Instagram stories are other people's pets doing wacky things because that's what cheers me up. When you're doom scrolling, you want to look at like a gopher doing a funny thing in a hat, or you want to look at a hedgehog in a swimming pool, or you want to look at a dog that's like really happy to be hanging out with his buddies. Like that to me is what I use Instagram for is like self therapy to self cheer me up. But if you go to my Instagram, it some people might think it's a cry for help because I have like pictures of like especially during COVID, I have so much furniture in my house because I thought people would come over and I'd have, like RPG parties and cocktail parties and dinner parties. So I have all these chairs. I have like a conversation pit, like a 1970s style conversation pit in my apartment. I have a colorful apartment. It's very inviting, but no one would come over. And then COVID just made it absolutely no one come over. So I put my ventriloquist dummies in each chair and then I would take TikTok videos of them, and people were like, "Are you okay?" And I did a TikTok video of doing a Ouija board session with one of my ventriloquist dolls, and everyone was convinced I'd be dead by the end of the night. And I'm like, "No, no, no. This is just how I have fun on Instagram because I use Instagram to amuse myself. I don't do it to show like, I don't use it as a platform of self-promotion. Unless it's
Yeah.
like a book unless I have a book out Like, if I
No,
just
it's
come out
good. It's just also whatever state of mind you are. Like, if you're super, if you just have to approach. I'm not saying I'm uninstalling Instagram. I need to just
because I
not use
love
it.
your Instagram. I love your Instagram. It's so cheerful and
I love
happy.
looking at other people's Instagrams too. It's just
Yeah.
maybe I need to approach it with my guards up in that I'm looking at a Grecian villa and I can't I'm like, "Why can't I ever go with the one with the private infinity pool? Why are you following these accounts that you're never gonna go to these
I
hotels? What
mean,
are you
I
doing?"
will admit, I follow a lot of castle accounts. I follow
Oh,
Zillow.
castle accounts.
Oh,
Yes.
and I do follow Zillow Gone Wild, which is, like, really
That's
rich
great.
people
That
really
sounds
rich
great.
people with poor taste. So it's, like,
Love
people
it.
who have bought a house and then turned the whole thing inside of it into a putt-putt, and it's like a $5 million house or $6 million. So
Love
here's
it.
the thing, I agree with you. I think the key to a lot of this, and this is what I'm trying to do, you do not have to be on social media every day. You can
No.
take
Well, you know
breaks.
what I did, Bonnie? I've just started doing Duolingo, and I started downloading a couple of other language things, and
What language are you
my
learning? What
Spanish has soared just in the last couple weeks because
oh,
every time I go to check social media, I just listen to either a podcast or do an
yeah.
exercise, and I'm like, "This will add up to something in a year." The other stuff probably won't.
Yeah, I will tell you, I also do Duolingo, and I, retaught myself Spanish, brushing up on
Wow.
Russian, brushing up on Klingon,
Ooh.
and I also wanna learn Elvish, but then just after watching
Nice,
Moon
nice.
Knight, I kinda wanna learn Arabic.
Bonnie, I've been using this, I have to send it to you. It's called language translation,
Okay,
and this guy, he does Arabic. Go to languagetranslation.com. I think it's
okay.
his so he is a Dutch guy, I guess, and he knows, like, a bunch of languages, and he has a 90 podcast episode thing on teaching a woman who doesn't know Spanish at all, Spanish in this sort of dialectic Socratic method, also
Oh,
breaking down the Latin, and I
yeah,
have learned more about the way that Spanish is structured than I have in a year of Duolingo.
and
So, and he
I
does do
also
French and Arabic too.
yeah, it was weird because my mom was a hippie that, went to Sorbonne University, and she oh my god, she taught me French before I knew English, and then, we lived in Kansas where there were no French people, so and I went to Catholic school.
Languagetransfer.org. So it
Okay.
is and it's free. I'm gonna give the guy a lot of I need to give him a lot of money after I'm finished with his Spanish, but it's truly and it's podcast. You're not supposed to write anything down. You're supposed to memorize everything. He teaches you how to sort of parse the language. And I don't know if that's like you could do only, but just
Yeah,
in just in 13 courses, I mean 13 of the 90, I am understanding Spanish better than I've ever understood.
yeah. I
And
also heard
he has free courses in French, Swahili, Italian, Greek, German, Turkish, Arabic, Spanish. He has English for Spanish speakers, and I mean, it's incredible. I guess he speaks
oh,
all these
wow.
languages?
That's a didn't we have this I remember one time we read a book about superheroes when we were talking about superhero, skill set we wanted, and I think you always say you wanna know every single language there is.
Oh, that would be my yes. And
Yeah.
I've never really
You wanna
I
be
have
C
I've never really concentrated enough to really learn a language so that I could be conversational, and I'm 100% doing it with Spanish, and I'll probably do another one after this because I really love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I do too.
Um,
I love real languages and I love fake languages, and I love everything. I mean, I here's the when I worked at Lucasfilm, we had to learn Huttese, Ewokese, which is funny because that is something you have to learn those.
I
It
mean,
sounds
yeah.
weird, but you had to learn those languages because of all this other stuff that you had to do there. But I learned Russian because I had a high school teacher that thought Red Dawn was really gonna happen to us.
Oh
So
god.
I mean, this is during the Cold War. So he was like, "Oh, we need to know Russian because at any moment, Gorbachev will be overthrown, and then we'll have to fend for ourselves." Like Red Dawn, like not the remake because that's China, I think, but the original was Russians invading Kansas. And so, but I know enough Russian now that I know when Netflix translate the subtitles are wrong.
Oh,
So that's
that's
a
cool. I mean, that's
what?
really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to cabbies here because there's a lot of Russians here in LA, and so I've been able to speak Russian to my Lyft drivers and stuff. But like, I would say immersive. Anything learning a language immersively is the best way. But also, there are so many really great foreign movies and TV shows on Netflix that while you're learning whatever language you're learning, I highly recommend watching those shows without English subtitles because it gets you used to how things are spoken and the slang and the rhythm of it. So that's how I kind of got back into Spanish. I was watching a lot of Spanish horror films on Amazon
Mhm.
Prime Video and Netflix and Hulu, but I was also watching Spanish soap operas, which are so good for learning Spanish.
Oh, I
Um,
gotta get into that. I'm
well,
still on the baby stuff.
they're so much fun. They're so much fun to watch soap operas in Spanish without any English help at all because you learn real fast.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, that's there's also a Spanish this other thing that I'm doing, and I can't remember the name of it, Dreaming Spanish, which also
oh,
has it has, like, videos, and it's all immersion, but then they are very, very slow when they say the words, so I'm like, "Oh, this is I am super beginner, please speak to me." And it's really but it really does make you understand it, unless you're talk I don't think Duolingo really works well, outside of just some vocabulary acquisition,
yeah.
personally.
Have you done Rosetta Stone?
No.
That's supposed to be a bit more immersive because that's for business people that are needing to learn
Mhm.
Japanese in a week or something,
I
but
think Duolingo would be great because I'm visiting Portugal, and I'm gonna do the first couple levels of Portuguese in July, and I'm, like,
yeah,
excited because I think they're gonna give me these really great tools, but I think in order to really get far, you have to combine Duolingo with a speaking program. That's what I feel.
okay. Well, just so you know, there's a lot of really great Portuguese sci-fi shows on Netflix right now,
Love
so
it! Oh my gosh, we're so over time. I guess we haven't
oh,
been
yeah.
talking about the actual book. Okay, the book is great.
Just because I only get to talk to you at these things, 'cause I'm like, "Catch up time with Felicia," and then I forget we have an audience listening.
I know. Well, guys, we
Sorry.
really recommend this book. It's a wonderful book, and I picked the next okay, you guys get the chat or the group can pick the July pick.
Okay.
Actually, maybe we should do, like, an Independence Day thing, like an American history thing, but I decided to pick the book for next month, and it's something I've always wanted to read, and it might not be the most
Ooh,
exciting book, but it's called I'm trying to get it up. 1 second. I got it at my library wait a minute.
it's called The American Bible. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's the American Bible.
America's
Where is
Cookbook,
it?
and we all learn how to
Let's
make
see,
a
hold.
okay.
It's called Entangled Life by
Ooh.
Merlin Sheldrake. How fungi makes our worlds, change our minds, and shapes our future.
Oh, I love fungi. I love
Word,
fungus.
we're going into mushroom territory.
I'm part of the Mycology Society of Santa Cruz.
Are you kidding?
I know how to gather mushrooms. I'm a mushroom fanatic.
Well, I'm so excited. The brilliant young biologist Merlin Sheldrake shows us the world from a fungal point of view,
Ooh,
providing an exhilarating change of perspective.
yes,
So it
please.
takes us from yeast to psychedelics to the fungi that ranges miles underground and are the
Yep.
largest organisms on the planet. I'm excited because I don't know a lot about it,
Oh,
and I want to learn, and I wanted to do some nonfiction. So there you
okay.
go.
I am very excited for this. I will also say if you want to see a movie, oh maybe not. Nick Cage movie's Pig is really good about truffle hunting. But here's
Oh,
the thing.
okay.
The thing about mushrooms you got to know about, they have so many different properties. People are learning about mushrooms continuously. People
Oh,
are
wow.
starting to realize that we could do microdosing again because that was something that happened before the hippies took over mushrooms,
Mhm,
and then
mhm.
everyone's like, I don't do mushrooms. It can help with depression, but
A
also
lot of things. So we have a lot to talk about next month.
Mushrooms communicate with each other. They
I love it.
communicate
I love it.
underground communication. So
I
that's
can't wait to read more about it. All right,
yay!
so if you are listening on the podcast feed and would like to join the Geeks Book Club live and have your comments semi-incorporated into the talk, please go to discord.gg/Felicia Day. Until next month, we will be hanging out on the last Tuesday of June, unless otherwise stated. And thank you so much. Thanks, Bonnie.
Yeah, thanks for this. I had fun.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.